Welcome to the AI Expo Africa. My name is Yeboah, and I'm honored to be here with you on this prestigious conference in what will be its fourth successful year. I wish that we could be together and face to face in Africa, but I trust you'll find the sessions valuable with the many different offerings this conference delivers to further instill technology into the entire continent of Africa. I am the Chief Strategy Officer for Intel Corporation. And what excites me about what we do at Intel, how we live, our values, is really encapsulated in our mission. We stand and we aspire to create world-changing technology that enriches the lives of everyone, every person on Earth. And for me, this brings a lot of passion and excitement to what we do here in Silicon Valley and across the world at Intel. A little bit about me. I'm originally from Ghana. I lived all over the continent. I lived in Botswana growing up. I also spent 8 years recently living in South Africa. And at last count, I've visited over 30 African countries. So you can imagine that Africa is in my blood and it's been part of my journey so far. My other part of my journey has been as a technologist. I did engineering at MIT, I'm an electrical engineer and computer scientist. I then joined McKinsey & Company for over 26 years, where I consulted mostly to tech and telecom companies. And now I'm at Intel, where my life has come full circle, and my love for computers and for chips and for software is met every day in the work that I do. A little bit about Intel. We're going to talk about AI, but just a little bit about Intel and the things that we spend a lot of our time thinking about. The way that we think about the way the world is heading and how we think about the things that will change, will bend history over the next 10, 15 years are 4 or 5 big factors, which our CEO, Pat Gelsinger, just calls the superpowers. The first superpower is ubiquitous computing. You're seeing computing be every single place that you can imagine, from computers to cars to even to telephones, obviously, to PCs where we play in, but also to televisions, to every device you can imagine. The second big superpower that we spend a lot of time trying to understand and anticipate is pervasive connectivity. The world of 5G is just the tipping point of what we imagine will happen as cost of connectivity goes down, but also the cost of interconnectivity, the connections between devices that are near to each other, that are tethered to each other, between a PC and a TV, become cheap, easy, and very efficient and effective. The fourth superpower is around artificial intelligence, the core element of what we're going to talk about today. We see intelligence and artificial intelligence pervading everywhere in the compute architecture and the compute ecosystem. This is the workload of the future for the next 10 years, and it's the workload that we're spending a lot of our time at Intel understanding and anticipating what our customers will need and making sure we're building products to satisfy them. The fourth superpower that we believe will shape how our industry evolves is how the industry infrastructure is going to be constructed. We call it at Intel the cloud to edge infrastructure. How infrastructure for compute is going to which first started obviously in terms of a PC, evolved into mainframes to PCs to 3-tier architectures to mobile to cloud, and now what we call the cloud to edge. We envisage that workloads are going to sit in the cloud, operate in the edge, and be consumed at the client. And how that evolves is an incredibly important driver of how our industry is going to shape out. And we're spending a lot of our time trying to understand the economics of that and make sure that we're ready for that in the future. One way to think about how all of this is going to play out is just to understand the sort of the drivers of growth on these trends. This is just one page that shows some of them. The first is on compute demand. We think it's growing annually about 60% in terms of just the raw demand for compute globally. Edge growth in terms of the compute that is being driven at the edge of the network, be it for AI, be it for autonomy, is growing at least at 25%, which is basically doubling every 3 or 4 years. AI demand growing also around 30%. When we talk about AI demand, we're talking about the spend that enterprises, cloud service providers, telecom providers, all the end markets are spending on AI, growing at around 30%. And then finally, network demand, which you can see as you travel across Africa, how mobile penetration exploding, but not only the mobile penetration exploding, but broadband exploding and the cost of broadband coming down and the number of devices connected to broadband exploding. So the superpowers can be felt everywhere you are in the world, particularly around these key drivers. At Intel, we think about AI supporting these key drivers across every single part of the node of the infrastructure, from the cloud where you have we provide chips and capabilities to enable cloud service providers and enterprise cloud providers to actually train and infer AI workloads, to the edge where governments, to the enterprise and governments where really specialized AI workloads that have to be secure, that have to be very specialized for very key workloads like anti-money laundering sits at the edge of the network where it's mostly around autonomy, where the speed and the response rate is incredibly important for AI workloads, which sits at the edge. And then finally, obviously, at the client endpoint, which is mostly an inference type place of the environment. The other part of our AI story that we spend a lot of time on is on developers. We think there are around 24 million developers globally, and we seek to serve them at every part of the stack that they operate in. We have the ninja developers who want to operate our chips at the assembly level code almost, all the way to developing data scientists who are mostly trying to solve real problems and imagining the problems, don't want to get into coding, but really want to take the full advantage of the power of compute. And we have a software architecture and a software strategy that is set up to serve each one of these types of developers. Let me shift gears now that I've talked about how we're thinking about AI at Intel, and talk a little bit about a very important initiative, which I want to elaborate on a bit today. At Intel, we take corporate responsibility incredibly seriously, and we've set our aspirations and corporate social responsibility around our RISE strategy. The strategy has some very clear objectives and the goals which is we want to reach in 2030. But I want to highlight a couple of them that is really pertinent to this discussion here on AI in Africa. As part of our RISE strategy, we're really focused on making sure technology is equitable, accessible, and inclusive for all. We've rolled out the Intel Digital Readiness program, which you hear about more, and you can go to our website and understand, which aims to really empower the wider non-techie audiences with the appropriate technologies, skill set, mindsets, tools, and opportunities to use technology responsibly in the AI field world. We are committing to taking this program to 30 countries, enabling access to 30,000 institution partners and training 30 million people for their current and for the future jobs by 2030. We're looking and working with governments and academia to deliver this. And we are at Intel incredibly excited that so far we've trained more than 150,000 people across 8,000 institutions in 15 countries already. The program includes at least 4 different categories. The first is digital readiness for leaders. This is really helping to empower government leaders and business leaders around the world around to really understand the power of the emerging technologies in AI, 5G, cloud, and broadband connectivity. We also have AI for citizens as a key component of this. This is the second component, which is to develop awareness and understanding of AI among the public. AI is going to be everywhere, and the public awareness and acceptance of it and also policing of it, we feel is incredibly important. AI for the workforce. The future of work is going to be very different with AI as more and more of the mundane work or more and more of the very difficult types of analysis is made easy. How do workers of the future take advantage of this and use it? And then finally, AI for the Youth program. This I'm incredibly excited about. This is really to empower school students to learn and apply AI tech and social skills for real world problem solving and to make them the next innovators of the future. In Africa particularly, we have been engaging and working with partners such as Smart Africa to build the capacity of African decision makers on digital readiness for leaders, focused on security in AI policy and the use in AI use cases. And we look forward to working together with Smart Africa on its Pan-African AI blueprint once finalized by the institution. In addition, we are also engaged in multiple countries across Africa and in an advanced stage of discussions for the implementation of our AI for Future workforce in South Africa, Kenya, and Ghana. Today, we are delighted that we are officially launching one of our digital readiness programs, namely AI for Youth in South Africa and in the continent. We have worked closely with Safroadu, which is closely affiliated to the Gauteng Department of Education, to launch AI for Youth, which is targeted at high school students in Gauteng. Let me hand over to the CEO of Safroadu Discovery Center, Dr. Mo Chekani, to take us through this. Dr. Chekani.
Thank you, Safroadu Yeboah Amankwa. The Safroadu Discovery Center, South Africa's largest science center, is affiliated to the Gauteng Department of Education to support maths, science, and technology education, and to help build South Africa's engineering, science, and technology capacity. Safroadu is responsible for implementing the Gauteng Mathematics, Science, and Technology Education Strategy. As technology changes at such a rapid pace, it is important that we keep aligned with global trends and skills that are required for the jobs in the fourth industrial revolution. South Africa has a fourth industrial revolution as a vision and strategy, and it is key that Gauteng Department of Education contributes not only to the province's global competitiveness, but also to the country's competitiveness in the fourth industrial revolution. We are delighted with the opportunity of launching artificial intelligence for youth in our clubhouse facility and identified Gauteng schools. And we're looking forward to scaling this program in schools in Gauteng. More importantly, we are extremely eager to see the artificial intelligence solutions that are developed by our students to assist the province and the country with solutions that will solve and assist our local needs. So delegates can meet me in the speaker lounge for additional questions and answers. Once again, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and over to you, Saf.
Thank you, Dr. Mo Chekani. We are mutually eager to see the creativity and solutions of the Gauteng students. I enjoyed talking with you. I wish it could be in person, where we could talk and exchange ideas in more of a personal way, but hopefully in a beautiful area in Johannesburg. I'd like to leave you with the word of a partnership and something that has really resonated with me while being at Intel. It's something that comes up when I'm in conversations with our team, our CEO, and sometimes it's incredibly important to me. Technology will play a critical role in building a digital future. That is equitable, accessible, and inclusive for all. As Intel looks ahead for the next decade, our ambitions and opportunities have never been greater to unleash the power of compute. The objective is to help companies and people create value by leveraging the full power of technology. Africa is important to the world, Africa is important to Intel, and Africa is very important to me. We're here to partner with you for this important journey. Thank you for joining the AI Expo Africa conference and for playing such a critical role for AI here. I look forward to seeing you all next year. Thank you.